Hello. Welcome. For those of you who are watching me for the very first time, my name is James Ambroise, and on this channel, we cover how to pay off debt faster than any other debt repayment method out there. We cover basic bookkeeping and accounting for someone who just started out a small business. We cover basic personal income tax to include a Schedule C, Schedule E, depreciation. I am also the author, creator of Ambroise Method 1.0 and Ambroise Method 2.0. Ambroise Method is a revolutionary debt repayment method that offers greater results in terms of reducing interest cost compared to debt snowball, debt avalanche, velocity banking. Real quick about my credentials. I have been or am a bookkeeper and accountant, QuickBooks Pro Advisor, Senior Tax Advisor, Residential Real Estate Investor, Residential Property Manager, Financial Coach. And as always, before we get started, what's on the board, please allow me to shout out the name Jesus, my Lord, my God, my Creator. Thank you. All right, America, on the board we have this hypothetical scenario of somebody who filled out one of my Microsoft Excel worksheets. And the person provided me with these figures. For that, this person has a USA credit card, a PenFed ELOC, credit limit $12,000, APR 24%, balance owed $8,000, monthly payments charged $240. Availability, America, we've learned on lesson 1 that the availability is the relationship between the credit limit and the balance owed. That relationship calls for a subtraction operation. 12,000 minus 8,000, that's how we arrive at 4,000. Okay. Credit utilization is the relationship between the balance owed and the credit limit. That relationship calls for a division operation. 8,000 divided by 12,000, that's how we arrive at 66.67%. Okay? Payment rate charge. Payment rate charge is the relationship between the monthly payments charged and the balance owed. That relationship calls for a division operation. 240 divided by 8,000, that's how we arrive at 3%. Okay? Now, on the USA credit card, USA is not currently offering any balance transfers. Okay? On the PLOC, it's a 1020 ELOC, PenFed ELOC, it's a 1020 ELOC, which means the first number represents the draw period, the next number represents the repayment period. So it's 10-year draw, 20 years repayment. And right now we're in year 3 of 30, which means we're still in a draw period. Okay? Now, client's income. Clients is on a bi-weekly pay period. Clients get paid on the 5th. And the next paycheck will come 14 days later on the 19th. Okay? The total for these two paychecks will be $3,081. Client expenses, $2,693. The expenses, that's when you add all these amounts that we have on the board, every single one of them. Okay? 2,693 in expenses. Okay? Now, out of these expenses, $1,803 could go on a credit card. Okay? These are all the bills that could go on a credit card. Electricity could go on a credit card. Water could go on a credit card. YouTube TV could go on a credit card. Netflix could go on a credit card. T-Mobile could go on a credit card. Property tax could go on a credit card. Insurances, so we have the insurance, the property insurance, and we have the car insurance. These two insurances combined, they both could go on a credit card. Groceries could go on a credit card. Fuel could go on a credit card. Restaurant could go on a credit card. Okay? When you add them up, the total $1,803. Okay? Client's debt. 28,000. The debt, that's when you add all these balances. 8,000 plus 20,000, that's how we arrive at 28,000. Okay? Client's cash flow. America, I remember from prior lesson that cash flow is the relationship between the income and the expense. That relationship calls for a subtraction operation, $3,081 minus $2,693. That's how we arrive at $388 in cash flow. Okay? All right, America, I'll give you about 5-10 seconds to take a look at what's on the board, and then we're going to start with the exercise. All right, America. Remember that Ambroise Method calls for a series of steps, and those steps have to be taken at least once a month. Okay, and the steps, for those of you who missed that lesson: segregate, compare, transfer, repeat, cash flow or large payment, and then we have to answer the what. W, which account to use. H, how much of a payment to send. And T, to pay down or off which debt. Okay? These are the steps for Ambroise Method. And again, America, those steps have to be taken at least once a month. Okay? Now, let's segregate. America, the way we segregate by account types. Okay? So we try to, the way I like to segregate, I like to have my revolving credit account on top and my installment credit account at the bottom. Okay? Now, USA credit card, that's a credit card, so that's revolving credit account. PenFed ELOC, now because PenFed is in the draw period, it is considered a revolving credit account. Now, when the ELOC America is not in the draw period, it is no longer considered a revolving credit account. So it will be in the installment category. But in this particular example, we are still in the draw period, year 3 of 30. So we're still inside 10 years. So the ELOC is revolving. Okay? All right. So we have 2 revolving. We don't have any installment. So as far as segregation, the list is perfect. Okay? Next time, America, we compare. And how do we compare? We compare by APR between account types. Well, we only have one account types, revolving credit accounts. Okay? So by APR, and I prefer the higher APR on top and the lower APR at the bottom. So 24 is higher or bigger than 9, so 24 is listed first. Okay? And when we compare in America, we try to identify the enemy. We try to identify the troublemaker. And the account that has the higher PR is generally the enemy, the troublemaker. The account with the higher PR is the troublemaker. Okay. Next, America, we transfer. Okay. And the way we transfer, we always try to relocate balances on a debt that has a higher APR to a debt that has a lower APR. So we're going to always try to move or relocate these balances. Okay? Well, the debt with the higher APR, that's USA. So we're going to try to move some of that 8,000 into the 20,000. Okay? All right. But now by how much? Okay. On our method, we are extremely aggressive. Okay? we go close to 100%. So in this particular example, we're gonna go 98.5%. Okay, so 25,000. Okay, just to see how much we have for a transfer. Times, we're gonna go as high as 98.5%. Okay, and for those of you who don't quite know what you're doing, don't go that high. Okay, stay somewhere in the 80s or low 90s. Don't go as high as 98.5% if you do not know what you're doing, okay? But for us, we go as high as 98.5% of the credit limit, okay? So let's figure out how much we have available for a transfer, okay? So that'll be the pen fed. 25,000 times 98.5%. And again, folks, if you don't know what you're doing, do not go that high, okay? Stay in the 80s, stay in the low 90s, don't go as high as 98.5%. So that'll be 25 times 98.5, so we're at 24,625, okay? But client already owed 20,000, so 24,625 minus the current balance, 20,000, okay? So we have 4,625 available for a transfer, okay? All right. And so that's how much you're going to transfer. That's how much you're going to relocate from the account with the higher APR into the account with the lower APR. Okay? All right, so let's run some numbers. USAA, credit limit 12,000. A little lower. APR for USA 24%. Balance owed. Now we say we're gonna relocate out of the 8,000, 4,625. So you'll be 8,000 minus 4,625. So now we are at $3,375. Okay. Monthly payments charged. We're using an overall flat fee, 3%. So 3,375 times 3%, 10125. Okay. And folks, on the monthly payment charge, the monthly payment, the lender or the creditor will let you know what your monthly payment is, okay? So you will never, in real life, has to figure out that number, okay? And depends on the cycle. Sometimes, even though you're doing transaction inside the account, sometimes the monthly payment is gonna stay the same, okay? So, depends if the cycle has closed already or if the cycle, I'm talking about the billing cycle, okay? So, either way, this figure, you'll never have to figure out what the minimum payment is. The lender, in this case USA, will let you know what the minimum payment will be, okay? Because remember, some of these credit cards are interest, are simple interest, some of them are compound interest. So you'll never have to figure that out. Okay, but to make our job easier, we use an overall flat fee. Okay, 3%. All right, now the availability is credit limit minus new balance owed. So that'll be 12,000 minus 3,375. availability now is 8,625. Okay. Credit utilization is balance owed divided by credit limit. So 3375 divided by 12,000. We are 28.13%. And payment rate charge, we did say it was 3%, but let's run it just for good measure. Payment rate charge is monthly payments charge divided by balance owed. So 10125 divided by 3375. Okay, so we had 3% like we knew it was. Okay. All right. Next, I'm working on PenFed ELOC. Okay. The credit limit 25,000. APR 9%. Balance owed. Now, we did say we're gonna go all the way to 98.5% on the PenFed, which will give us a total balance of 24,625. Remember, we're relocating 4,625 from the USAA, and we're gonna dump it into the PenFed. So 20,000 plus the 4,625. So 20,000 plus 4,625. That's how we arrive at the max, 24,625. Okay. Monthly payments charge. It is a interest only PenFed ELOC. So 24,625 times 9% for the year divided by 12 to get the number for the month. So for the month, it will be 1,8. Let's round up 185. Okay. Availability is credit limit minus balance owed. So 25,000 minus 24,625. 375. Okay. Credit utilization, we did say it will be 98.5%, but let's run it just for good measure. Credit utilization is balance owed divided by credit limit. So 24,625 divided by 25,000. Okay. Sure enough, 98.5% like we knew it was. Okay. And payment rate charge is monthly payments charged 185 divided by balance owed 25,625. Okay. That's how we arrive at 0.75% like we knew it was. Okay. All right, America. I'll give you about 5-10 seconds to take a look at this real quick, and then we're going to continue with the exercise. All right, America. Now going back to the steps. Segregation is done. Comparing is done. Transferring is done. Now is the opportunity, America, for us to repeat the transfer. Okay. Well, the ELOC is close to, we only have 2 accounts. The ELOC is close to 100%, so close to saturation point, so we cannot do any more transfer. Okay, so we cannot repeat the transfer. Now, since we are done, America, with all of the items that are above the line, there goes the line, America. Okay. Now, we could go below the line. Remember, All the items that are above the line has been completely exhausted. We cannot do any more transfer. Okay? Now we could go downstairs. We could go below the line. And below the line is to answer some questions. Okay? Can we use cash flow? Or can we make a large payment? Okay? During this period, the client did not receive any income tax refund. The client did not receive any bonus check. The client did not receive any additional funds or money that would constitute or represent a large payment. So we do not have any large payment. So in this case, we're going to be dealing with cash flow. Okay? So now let's figure out how much our new cash flow is. Okay? And the way we determine the cash flow, we take a look at the monthly payment, the original monthly payment charge, minus the new monthly payment charge. Okay? To figure out if our cash flow has increased or decreased. Okay? Now, USA was 240, so it will be 240 plus, and Fed was 150, so 240 plus 150, then minus the new amount, minus 101.25 minus 185. Okay? 240, 150 minus 101.25 minus 185. Okay, looks like our cash flow got increased by 103.75, which means now that our new cash flow is, remember it was 388 and it got increased by 103.75, so 388 plus 103.75. Now our new cash flow is 491.75. Okay. All right. So now, America, we've determined what our cash flow is. So next is to answer the what, W-H-T, the what, W, which account to use. Okay? Now, on our method, America, we have two different type of users. Okay? We have what we call a normal user, and we have what we call an advanced user. Okay? And a normal user on our method is a user that takes advantage of transfer, a user that takes advantage of cash flow. Okay? An advanced user on our method takes advantage of transfer, takes advantage of the alternative account, takes advantage of cash flow. Okay? And again, America, on our method, we have these two type of user, normal user and advanced user. Okay? Now, for those of you who are will fall in the normal user category. Okay? So obviously you're gonna use transfer, you're gonna use cash flow. So we've already done transfer. Okay? And so now you're gonna try to take advantage of cash flow for a normal user. And a normal user will use a regular checking account to pay off debt. Remember, America, a normal user do not utilize the alternative account. Okay? So for a normal user, after you've done these transfers, okay, so as the paycheck start coming in, you're gonna dump all the paycheck inside the checking account, then you're gonna use that checking account to pay off debt. Okay? And whatever cash flow that you have for 9175 in this particular example will go towards the account with the higher APR, you'll be USAA. That's for a normal user. Okay? Now, right now we're doing a scenario for an advanced user. On our method, America, for an advanced user, we're always trying to identify three main accounts. The first one will be first in line, or the account that offer greater results. Okay? In terms of reducing interest cost. Okay? On our method for an advanced user now, because remember, advanced user uses alternative account. We always look for the next in line, or the account that offer greater liquidity. Okay? And finally, America, on our method for an advanced user, we always look for the alternative account for movements. Of income and expenses. Okay? Alright. So now let's figure out our accounts. Okay? The account for greater results in terms of reducing interest costs is generally the account with the higher APR. Well, we've established that USAA credit card has the higher APR, so that'll be USAA. Okay. The account for greater liquidity, well, USAA could not provide us greater liquidity because the amount, the bills, the expenses that could go on a credit card were limited. Only 1,803 could go on a credit card when the expense is a lot higher. So USAA could not give us greater liquidity. Okay. PenFed, on the other hand, it's a home equity line of credit. Okay. You could use the money and reuse it. Okay. And not only that, you could easily move money out of the PenFed ELOC. So for that reason, PenFed ELOC will offer us greater liquidity. So for greater liquidity, it will be PenFed ELOC. Okay. And for movements of income and expenses, it is generally the account with the higher APR. Not always, but generally, because we do have some exceptions. So that'll be USAA. Okay. All right. Now we have our three main accounts for an advanced user. All right. Now, when we take a look at the list, we have USAA for greater results in terms of reducing interest cost. Okay, because when you send payment to the higher APR, you have better results. Okay. We have PenFed for greater liquidity, and we have USAA again for movements. Okay. We have USAA at two different places. Okay? This is what I call redundancy. So for that reason, we're not going to use this USA for movement. So we're going to take it off the board. Okay? And again, America, we always look for these three accounts. For an advanced user, the only time we don't use one is when we have redundancy. Okay? We already have USA on the list. All right? All right, so now we've determined our accounts. So we have our two main accounts, USA for greater results and PenFed ELOC for greater liquidity. Remember, we try to answer the questions now. Which account or accounts to use? So you'll be USA for greater results and PenFed for greater liquidity. Okay. Now the next question, how much of a payment to send to this account? How much of a payment? All right, let's figure out our numbers. USA regular monthly payment in this particular example is 101.25. And bills that could go on a credit card. We did say the total was $1,803. Okay. Cash flow. Remember, America, that cash flow is better served in the account that has the higher APR. And again, America, when you send payment to the higher APR, you will achieve greater results in terms of reducing interest costs than as opposed to when you send payment to the lower APR account. Okay? So for that reason, cash flow will go to USAA. And we said our new cash flow is $491.75. And then we might have absorption. Okay? Or absorption opportunity. Okay? So let's leave absorption alone for now. Let's move down to the PenFed ELOC. PenFed ELOC regular monthly payment is $185. Okay. Remember that the credit card couldn't cover everything. The credit card was only able to cover 1,803. So remainder bills or expenses that could not go on a credit card, PenFed ELOC will take care of those. Okay, so let's figure out what are the remainder ones that could not go on a credit card. Okay. Remember that the client total income $3,081. So $3,081 minus 101.25 minus 1,803 minus 491.75 minus 185. So we have about 500 that could not go on a credit card in addition. Okay? Now, PenFed ELOC America is at 9%. USAA is at 24%. On the PenFed ELOC, we have two amounts going into the PenFed ELOC. 185, which is the monthly payment, then 500, which will take care of bills, expense that cannot go on a credit card, which is the card payment, because the credit card could not cover the card payment. Okay? So, again, we have two amounts going to the PenFed. PenFed America is at 9%. We do not want to send too much payment to an account that is at 9% when we have a 24% account on the board. Okay? That is a difference of, let's say, 24 minus 9, 9, 15, 5, 1, 2. That's a difference of 15%. Okay? So we don't want to send too much payment to a 9% account when we have a 24% account on the board. So for that reason, America, USAA credit card will absorb the PenFed ELOC. Well, we have two amounts again going to the PenFed ELOC. Which one will the USAA absorb? Okay? When we send 500 to the PenFed ELOC, if we send that large of a payment to the PenFed ELOC, that 500 payment, America, will satisfy the monthly payment on the PenFed ELOC, 185. So now since the payment will be satisfied, there wouldn't be a need for us to send an additional 185 to an account that has a lower APR. And again, when we have a higher APR account on the board, for that reason, America, USAA will absorb, okay, the 185. Okay. All right. So now PenFed want to keep 500. All right. Now let's figure out how much total USA needs to have. So it's 10125 plus 1803 plus 491.75 plus 185. PenFed USA total will receive $2,581. Okay? All right. So how much for USA? $2,581. And PenFed ELOC, $500. Okay. Remember, we have to answer those questions. Which account? USA and PenFed. How much of a payment to send to these accounts? USA, $2,581. PenFed, $500. Now, last and final question is the T. To pay down or off which debt? Okay? So that'll be the workflow. Okay? Now, client has two paychecks coming in, one on the 5th and one on the 19th. Okay? Now, America, when the paycheck on the 5th touch down the checking account, so where does the money go? Okay? This is why in America you have to pay attention to the due date, especially for bills, expenses that you need cash or cash equivalent for. Okay? Electricity, water, YouTube, TV, Netflix, T-Mobile, property tax, insurance, all these are due on the 28th, which is towards the end of the month. Okay? Groceries doesn't have a due date. I guess the client could decide to do the groceries at the end of the month. Fuel, I guess you could put fuel on a vehicle once a week, okay? And you'll go in a credit card. Restaurant doesn't have a due date. Client could decide to do it towards the end of the month. Okay. The car payment is due on the 26th. The car payment, you need the servicer want cash or check for the car payment. So that's cash or cash equivalent. And this one's due on the 26th. It's towards the end of the month, so we shouldn't have any issue. USA credit card is due on the 28th. The old amount was $240. The new one now is $101.25. This one is due on the 28th. That's towards the end of the month. That should not create any problem. PenFed ELOC is due on the 10th. The old amount was $150. The new amount now is $185. Now this one's due on the 10th. America, the paycheck on the 5th will cover anything between the 5th through the 18th, and the paycheck on the 19th will cover anything between the 19th all the way towards the end of the month. Okay. This PenFed ELOC is due on the 10th. Okay, so the first paycheck has to take care of that. Okay. So, and the new amount for PenFed is $185. So we know that at least PenFed will get $185 to cover that expense that's coming up on the 10th on the first paycheck. So PenFed $185. Okay. Now, which means now, oh, I forgot to put down how much we think the paycheck is going to be. So, client's total income is $3,081. So we're assuming that these two paychecks are equal. So it'll be $30.81 divided by 2. So on each paycheck, client will receive $15.40. $50 after tax on the first paycheck, and $15.40.50 after tax on the second paycheck. All right. So that paycheck will touch down the checking account. And we did say that PenFed will receive $185. Okay. Which means now that USAA will get the remainder. Okay? So $15.40.50 minus $185. So USA will receive $13.55.50 on the first paycheck. So the checking account will keep nothing. Okay? All right, now on the next paycheck, okay, PenFed needs to receive total $500. PenFed only received $185 on the first paycheck. So now PenFed will receive the remainder. So remember, it needs to be 500 total. So you'll be 500 minus 185. So PenFed will get 315 on the second paycheck, and USAA will receive the remainder from the total. So 15, 40, 50 minus 315. Okay? So USAA will receive 1,225.50. Okay? All right. And when you add these two, we should arrive to 2,581 total. And we've already added these two. We know it's 500. And again, that's running just for good measure. 1355.50 plus 1225.50. Sure enough, the total for USAA is the $2,581. Okay? All right, so now our numbers is perfect, which means now the checking account will keep 0. Okay? All right. How much to pay off which debt? Okay? We've already established that USA will take care of all of these. So, USA, which is the credit card, USAA, All these gonna go on the credit card. Okay, so the credit card will take care of all of these on the due date. Okay, so now the car payment, PenFed will receive 500, so PenFed will take care of that car payment, so that'll be PenFed. Okay, USAA will keep that 10125, that's that 10125, and because of the way an alternative account works, on the first paycheck, when you send in that 185 satisfied this 185. Okay? That was on the 5th, before the 10th. Okay? On the first paycheck. So that payment got satisfied when you send the money to PenFed ELOC. Okay? But James, we have 500 and 185. Okay? Meanwhile, you're telling us that PenFed only going to receive 500 total. Not 685, but 500 total. America, remember how this alternative account works. Okay? Initially, when you send the 185, that takes care of that one. Okay? And later on, you're going to send an additional 315. So altogether, the PenFed will have 500 bucks. Okay? So that's how you're going to use that 500 bucks total to take care of the car payment, okay, on the 26th. And the way it's going to work on the 26th depends how your PenFed ELOC is set up, if you have check writing privileges or not, okay. Most of the newer ones, all the newer ones do, okay, but if they don't, if they do, you're just going to write a check directly from the PenFed ELOC directly to the servicer for the car, okay? And it will be for 500 bucks on the 26th, all right? If you don't have check writing privileges, all you're gonna do is transfer the money from PenFed back to the checking account on the 26th, okay? Because that's when the car payment is due, okay? So from PenFed to the checking account on the 26th of the month for 500 bucks, okay? and from the checking account, you'll send a payment to the servicer. Okay? And again, folks, depends if you have check writing privileges or if you have some kind of restriction in a PinFed e-lock. Okay? If there's no restriction, you could perform the transaction directly from the PinFed e-lock. But if there's some kind of restriction, just move the money from the PinFed e-lock back to the checking account, and from the checking account, okay, you send the payment to the servicer. Okay? All right, America, I'll give you about 5-10 seconds to take a look at this real quick, and then we're going to continue with the exercise. All right, America. A quick difference between someone who's using that snowball, this group only uses cash flow, okay? And because we've done transfer earlier, we'll be doing one additional item than, let's say, a dead snowball group or a dead avalanche group, okay? So just in that alone, you already surpassed the results, okay? Because they're only gonna use cash flow, but you, on the other end, in addition to using cash flow, you also execute a transfer, okay? Even as a normal user, you're still gonna do better than dead snowball, dead avalanche groups. Because again, they're only using cash flow, and you're doing one additional item, you're doing transfer, okay? So they're doing one thing. In addition to cash flow, you're also doing transfer as a normal user. Now, as an advanced user, if they can even do better than our worst options, which is a normal user, they definitely won't be able to compete with our advanced user. And we're using alternative accounts. Okay? And each and every month, you might have an opportunity to constantly, perpetually relocating balances from one account to another. So, now, for someone who's using velocity banking, these folks, they practice what I call favoritism. So in this case, they will use the region e-lock, the PinFed e-locks for everything. They'll use the PinFed e-lock to chunk. They'll use the PinFed e-lock as a debt weapon. They'll use the PinFed e-lock to keep the cash flow. And from past lessons, we've already shown you guys that all those different jobs transfer alternative account cash flow. You have to use the account or accounts that are best suited for the job. PinFed e-lock in this particular example, America, was good for transfer. Okay? Which in essence is sort of like charging the lower APR account, which would be PinFed in this example, and paying the higher APR account. In a way, which is USAA. Okay? So if you're sending payment to USAA, okay, because the first transfer, when they chunk, okay, essentially that's what they've done. They charge a lower APR account. That's why PinFed e-lock got increased from 20 to 24,625. Okay? And in essence, they are paying the higher APR account, which is USAA. So that's why USAA got decreased from 8,000 to 3,375 on the original transfer. Okay? So now, if it was good for you to charge and then pay USAA. So why then are you keeping payment inside the PenFed e-lock? Because you've already established that you should not keep the payment inside the e-lock. That's why you send the payment, okay? Equivalent of sending the payment to USAA. So in this case then, while you're keeping the payment now, before, oh man, the payment was too high. I don't want to keep it. Let me send it to USAA. Now all of a sudden, now you want to keep the payment, okay, for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year. So at a later time, you could send it. As you could see, this is not the proper way to do it, okay? That is why on our method, we observe, the USA observed the PenFed e-lock. We observed that 185 in addition to cash flow, okay? And each and every month, remember on our method, we hate to have to babysit balances on a debt that is a higher APR. So each and every month, you might have the opportunity to relocate balances from higher APR to lower APR, okay? All right, America. I'll give you about 5-10 seconds to take a look at this real quick, and then we're going to continue with the exercise. All right, America. Again, my name is James Ambroise. I am the author, creator of Ambroise Method 1.0 and Ambroise Method 2.0. Ambroise Method is a revolutionary debt repayment method that offers greater results in terms of reducing interest costs compared to debt snowball, debt avalanche, velocity banking. Thank you, Jesus. Until next time, America.